Hello everyone, welcome to this recap webinar. My name is Daniel. I work as FAE and technical support on the communication department of Recap. And today I will talk about icom data suite. So let's check out the different parts here. I will first start with describing what actually icom data suite is. We're going to go through what the devices can run icom data suite. We're going to look at the different functions and an overview of the different packages for this application. And also I will perform a live demonstration with an installation and just show you a simple the beginning of a setup for icom data suite. So first let's start with what actually is icom data suite. It's an application that you install on your icom OS router, and it's run as a virtual machine or like a virtual PLC. And it allows you to use your router as not just for connecting to the internet, you can also use it as a protocol converter, a data logger, and an IoT gateway. It's easily configured using a web GUI, which is similar to the way you configure your router, and it does not require any programming skill whatsoever. And you can easily download and save the configurations and use it on different routers if you have similar or identical setups on different sites. So it's very easy to use on multiple platforms, on multiple sites, I would say. So take a quick look at what devices you can use for run icom data suite. You need a router that runs icom OS. And first we have the SCR series, which you can get with LTE. You can also get them with digital iOS. And you always have an RS-232 interface. And this router also have sleep mode for applications where you have very low energy supply, or you have like solar panels that are powering it, or batteries. Then it can go to sleep and just wake when you need to use it. And a step up from the SCR is the ECR series. Here you get LTE with dual SIM, so you can have two different operators for for application that you really need to be up and running 24/7. You get the Wi-Fi access point and client, and you also have an RS-232 and an RS-485 interface on this device, and to a couple of digital iOS and the sleep mode like in the SCR. If we take a step up here, we get to the MRO L200, an LTE router with a high performance, and if you need a high VPN data rate, or you need it like a VPN concentrator, this is the device to use. Here you get 5 Ethernet ports. On the SCR and ECR you only have 2. You get an RS-232 interface and 2 digital inputs and 1 digital output. And then we have the big boy, the MRX series, which is a modular router where you buy the basic unit, and then you can plug in the different cards that you need depending on your application. So you can get different types of connection, LTE, DSL, or use the LAN for connection to the internet. Here you also have the high performance and high VPN data rates. You have 5 Ethernet ports in the basic device, and you can expand that up to 17 ports. And you also have 2 digital inputs in the basic standard version, but you can also expand that with different cards. And this is what Insys call MR cards. So you have the different cards you can use. You can, like I said, use for cellular LTE connections or DSL connections. You can add more serial ports. We have a new card that you actually get analog input and outputs also. And in November, you will also get a card where you can add fiber ports. So you have 2 gigabit SFP fiber ports. They have also included, I should say, in the latest firmware, RSTP, which means you can actually add this into your switched network and you get the redundant communication on the fiber. And also soon to come is a Wi-Fi card. So let's take a little look at the different functions you can actually use this for. First of all, you have protocol conversion. You can convert between different protocols, different industrial protocols. Like in the example below, we are converting from Modbus and we are sending it to an OPC UA system and then back again. So you see you have OPC UA, Modbus, Siemens, and many more. And then you get the router is doing the translation between those two. And you can also use it to send it to different cloud formats or things like that also. You can use it for monitoring. You can monitor and analyze fault condition anomalies and threshold values, like in the example below. We are checking the minimum and maximum threshold values. And if it goes below or above these thresholds, you can actually send an alert. And in this case, you will send an email. And you can also receive and acknowledge alerts from outside. So this is good to be able to identify problems in advance, avoid malfunctions, and be able to react immediately in the event of a breakdown. You can use it as a data logger, so you don't need a third-party storage unit. You can collect and process data, and you can save it in the device, and then you can export this data like an CSV file, and then you can send it as an email or send it to an FTP server or MQTT, and then you can just open this file in your Excel, Microsoft Excel or similar, and be able to do check statistics and everything like that with it. We also have cloud connections. You can connect to different cloud platforms. They have a couple of cloud providers that are pre-integrated, but if you want to connect like to Amazon or Microsoft Azure, then you can just use the MQTT and configure it and send all your data up to the cloud for product improvement, anomaly detection, predictive maintenance, stuff like that. You can also go the other way and use it to remotely control your system. So you can actually send commands or send parameters to the router with the different types of like email or an SMS, MQTT, and use that to actually send the parameters to, like in this case, an OPC UA system, or if it's a Modbus system or Siemens system. And you can switch off and on digital and analog outputs in the router to be able to like turn on a fan or something like that. So you have a lot of different things you can actually do. This is just a few examples for what you can do with it. So let's take a look at the different packages. All the different functions are in different packages depending on what your application needs. So we start with package 1, the essential. Here you get the data transmission and alerting part, where you get MQTT, you get pre-integrated interface to Cumulocity and Telecom Cloud of Things. You get the possibility to send emails and also connect to an SFTP server to be able to store your data. And you get Modbus functionality, client server and master slave, so you can both get data and you can actually provide data to another control system. And you can use both RTU and TCP. And you have both digital and analog input and outputs. And the data logger function that I talked about is also in the essential package. And the standard functions with the administration, a simple graphical user interface. So you are not programming the device, you are configuring the device. So it's very easy to set up all this. You can use a REST API also if you want to, but mostly the configuration is done by the graphical user interface. You are able to get statistics, get the minimum, maximum, or mean value calculations, or even dynamic values. You have the timer function with the stopwatch time and periodic interval time. Say you want something to happen every day at 4 o'clock, then you can set that in the periodic interval time. And you also have the status monitoring with the threshold value monitoring, the range access, you can do arithmetic and logic functions, so you can take in data and you can actually process it in the router before you send it further. And I can say with all these packages, you are buying the license for the specific package, and it's a one-time license you buy, and it's for your specific device with the serial number of the device. You can't just buy a license and then use it on any device you want. It's connected to the specific device, but it's a one-time cost. If you need a little more functionality, you can go with package 2. Then you will get all the things in package 1, and you will also get OPC UA client server connection, and you get connection to Codesys-based devices. You also get the IEC 60870-5-101 master, which is the serial connections with RS45 and RS232. And you also get Siemens S7. They can provide S5 if you need it, but then you have to contact Insys for that. And here you have both connections with TCP or RTU. And then we have package 3 that includes package 1 and 2. And you also get the 104 server, which is the TCP or Ethernet-based version, mostly used for energy sector. And here you actually can have multiple connections supported simultaneously. And you have the OPC UA server if you want to be able to provide the data points to different control systems. Then you need this one. So those are the different packages that you can buy with the different functionality. And like I said, it's a one-time cost for them, the packages, and they are linked to the serial number on the device. So if you have several devices, you have to buy a license for each of the devices. All right, so I will try to do a live demonstration for you, how to install and set up a few data points. And here is my setup. I have an ECR, and to that I have connected a key and sensor that is connected to a digital input. I also have a thermometer that is communicating with Modbus RTU to the ECR. Right, so here we have my ECR router. I will just log in. Here we are. So this device, I have not done anything but just made the startup wizard so it has an internet connection. This system is perfect to use together with Insys connectivity suite also to be able to get the VPN connection to each device for more secure communication. I just want to show you what we're going to do is add a container. And a container can be this icom data suite. You can also do your own Linux-based small container and actually use it as a virtual machine in these routers. An important thing to mention, we are going to use the 45-day free test version of this icom data suite. Then you have to have at least firmware version 4.2 on the router for that to work. So if you don't have it, upgrade it to 4.2 or 4.3, and then you're good to go. And what we're going to do is just go to help and use the wizard, install icom data suite. Click on that one. Here we can choose either if we want to download the latest version from Insys directly, or if we have downloaded it and we want to manually upload it. And I'll just manual upload. I have downloaded. It's that one right there. If you have bought a license, you can add the license directly. We are not going to use a license. We're going to use the free version. So we just go to execute wizard. And what it's going to do now is it's going to use our IP address for the router, and it's going to add 9. So we have 192.168.1.1. So our icom data suite is going to have .10 on its IP address. That is just what the wizard is doing to be able to get it. If that doesn't work in your setup, then you will probably have to do it manually. And here we can go directly to the data suite if we want to, but I want to show you what we actually have done right now. Go to administration and container, and here we see we have our data suite container installed. We don't have a license here. If you buy a license, then you can choose it here. Click the pen, and here we can set what IP address do we want our data suite to use. And we can also choose if we want to connect it to a different network on our router. But we want this one, and I'll just go over to that. There we are. And it's the same login credentials for the data suite as it is on the router. They are completely different, completely separate when it comes to login credentials. So you can actually have a separate, completely different login credentials for the data suite than you have for the router, which can be really good in some cases when you want a technician to just be able to connect to the data suite but not do anything to the router. Then you can have a different. Here we want to use this trial period. You can see we'll have 45 days upon start. All functionality, so we have all the 3 package, every function we have available. And when we have used the trial period and we have done a setup that we are happy with, we can just buy the license and then install the license, and we will still have everything we have done. So we will not lose anything when we create the license. And when the 45 days are over, we will not lose anything we have done also. It's just that we can't use it anymore until we have added a license. So we start the trial period, and here we have 45 days left. Here we're going to see in a couple of minutes, we get values from the different data points that we have. We can also show the data logger, and we can show a license. Right now we see we have the test license, so we have all this functionality at our disposal. So let's start by adding some data points. Everything that we want to collect, every piece of data is called a data point in icom data suite. So we had the key sensor that's connected to a digital input. So we want to add a digital input, and we name it keyens, and it connected to digital input 1. Save settings. Now we have added one data point for the sensor. And we also have our thermometer that is speaking Modbus. So we add a device. And first we need to configure the Modbus device. Let's call it by its name. Here the description is totally free. You can put whatever you want, but it's good to use a name so you can easily identify it. We are speaking RTU on our RS-485 interface, and just put the baud rate and data bits and everything like that. And we can choose if we want to poll the device at a given interval, or in case of a specific event. But we want to do it at an interval, and we can say every 5 seconds. That's okay. And put the slave address. So if you have more devices on your RS-485, you can use different slave addresses there, and there will be different devices in the data suite. So you can poll them at different times if you want to. Save settings. So now we have added the Modbus device. But then we also have to say, okay, what do we want to gather? What information do we want to get from it? So we add a data point for the Modbus, and we call it temp. And I know it's an input register, and the register is 1. And save settings. And just like when you're dealing with the icom OS routers, every setting you have done does not apply until you get the activate profile. Then now everything we have done is active. So we go to current values now. We can put 3 seconds for update on this one. Then we see that the keyens sensor is low, it's a 0. And we see online, we have connected to our Modbus thermometer, and we get a value. We start with the keyens sensor. If I trigger it, you see it changes to high. So we can see that that one is working. And we have the thermometer, but it says 183. So that value is a little strange. Because I know that to be able to get the correct value in Celsius for this thermometer, we have to divide this number by 10. So we can actually do this in the router. We go to ALU and go to arithmetic, and we add arithmetic, and we can call that real temp. And here we want to use this value, this data point, temperature. We want to take that and we want to divide it with the value 10. And that will be saved in this data point. So now we have created another data point that we call real temp, and in that we save the temperature value divided by 10. So we got the current values. Here we get 18.4. That sounds more like it. So that's just an easy basic overview how you use data points, how you can gather the values, and how you can manipulate them however you want to. Just can check in the data logger function. If you want to add here, we can call it temp log, for example. And here we want to say every 10 seconds we want to write to this database. What do we want to write? We want to write the real temp. That's the value we want to add to this. Save settings and activate profile. And here we can see we have the data log that we just created. This window is updated every 90 seconds. So don't be alarmed if this number doesn't start to build immediately. It will take 90 seconds before you see anything for the first time here. But it will actually pull the data, the real temp data, every 10 seconds and add it to this data set. If you want to send data, we can do it with SMS, we can do it with email, connect to an FTP client or MQTT. Here we can actually, if we have Amazon or Microsoft Azure, we can just add all the broker IP address or the address, the login credentials and everything. Just add it here and it will connect to the MQTT broker. And then you just create the message you want to send. And then you have to create an event to say, okay, send this message now. And here you can actually put in, send the current value of the different data points. So you can send it, so it's not a static message you send, but you can actually send the current values. You also have the gateway functionality if you want to connect between the different protocols. You can create events depending on what you want to do. You have a lot of different events there. If something has changed, or if you get an SMS or an MQTT message, yeah, a lot of different events. And then when these events trigger, then you can send a message, or you can open a digital output, or whatever you want. You can see if the data logger has been updated. Yeah, right here we see we have eight temperature values so far. All right. I think the best thing to do if you're interested is to just install it on a router and activate the test and just try it out, see how we like it. If there are any questions, anything you're wondering about it, please contact me. I will gladly help you with that. And before I let you go, I just want to remind you that we at Rekab, not only do we have communication with the routers and switches and 4G and everything like that, we also have sensor vision with camera and vision systems, ID systems. We also have the embedded computer systems with embedded boards. We have box PCs, panel PCs, displays, custom-made computers, tablets, anything really you want, we can help you with. So please don't hesitate to contact us. And if you have any questions regarding this now, I could let this run a couple of minutes more. And if there are no more questions here, I will say thank you for this time and catch you the next time.